Hi, I'm Mike Goodwin. Welcome to the Graphic Insights channel. We're here to help you grow your digital graphics business by providing sales strategies, marketing ideas, how-to videos, media and equipment reviews, industry news, and more. Here we go. Today I'm joined by Tony and Emily. And we, it's cold outside. Temperatures are fluctuating. The air is dry. Doors are closed more than normal, and we're starting to see some static. So we wanted to talk about signs of static, troubleshooting static, and how you can eliminate it.
Couple signs of static. Um, Fuzzy edges would be a couple signs of static. Sometimes if it's really bad, it looks like almost lightning bolts of ink off of the edges of your prints. Or the hardest one to narrow down is you start a print, it builds up static, and then you get banding throughout your print after it gets into it. The reason why that's hard is you'll pause, do a cleaning or a test print, and that cleaning and test print, everything looks beautiful. So it's really just trying to watch your humidity and your temperatures to narrow down your environment.
So one of the things I know, not that it's static related, but one of the things that I think is worth mentioning that can lead to some static looking like issues is rolls can either come in from the outside, whether they come in via UPS or your supplier drops them off. Those rolls could sit outside and some pretty cold environments for quite a while. It's always a good idea to bring them indoors and let them acclimate to a room. A lot of the manufacturers suggest 48 hours. I know not a lot of people can wait the 48 hours or will wait the 48 hours, but at least 24 hours. You really should open the box up, open the plastic up, let the roll breathe, maybe even stand it up is probably the best thing for it. Don't forget it. Vinyl rolls that are PVC, they're very prone to expansion and contraction, and temperature swings really will wreak havoc on it, and it ultimately could cause banding. The other thing to keep in mind is that it's never a good idea to get big swings in your temperature in your shop where your media rolls are kept. I know everybody's trying to save money with inflation recently. Everything's gone up, including our heat bills. So some of you may be turning your heat down at night. Maybe a couple degrees, probably okay. But if you start turning it down 6, 8, 10 degrees, you really could start having an impact. In the morning you come in and you make up that 8 or 10 degrees in a pretty quick amount of time, and that roll will go through an expansion and contraction. And if it goes on the printer quickly, now you're throwing 102 degree drying heat on it as well. So you're already taking a pretty big swing from, let's say your shop is 70, 72 to loading it on the machine and having it hit some 100-degree heat. So the less you can have temperature swings in your shop, the more consistent your printing will be. So, are you seeing that in shops, Tony? Do you see that? Do you get?
And most people, even in their shops, if they come in, they set their heat, they start printing. They usually notice a shift around the 9 to 11 in the morning range. Things start getting difficult. All of a sudden, they start seeing banding or rippling in their media, and that's usually the environment is shifting and causing some of those issues. More comfortable, you can keep it around the lower 70s. Your humidity in the 40 to 60%, ideally right at 50 is awesome. But the closer you can keep those numbers, the easier day you're going to have.
Yeah, good point. Another thing to keep in mind or to check that maybe not a lot of thought was given is where your vents for heat and or AC are located in relationship to your printer. You want to try and avoid any direct heat or air on your vinyl or on your printer. I know it all goes through a filter, but that could actually shock it more quickly than not letting it acclimate to a room if your heat kicks on and hits a roll or hits your printer directly. Plus, it's not a good idea to have additional air blowing around your printers. There's an air balance inside the printer when the doors are closed that overspray and that sort of thing. You don't want dust or any dirt blowing around in there either.
So you're really saying is keep the glass closed on your printer?
Yeah, for everyone that likes to put the swab and the bypass, the interlock to watch it print and to make sure it's printing okay. I get it. Everybody does it. I've done it. Not a great idea. Better if the glass is closed.
The relative humidity be in your shop? Like, what is a good printing?
It varies per manufacturer. Tony, jump in anytime. Typically, manufacturers are around 50%. Around this time of year, at least in the Northeast where we are, you can see humidity drop to 20 or 30%. But I know typical manufacturers around 50%. We've seen good results at 50%, less static. Tony, you see the same thing?
Yep. And what I usually recommend to people is keep track of your temperature and your humidity. If you have an issue, banding starts, write down the temperature, time, and the humidity. And keep track of those things. It's just going to make you a better printer. The reason why I always tell people that is if you're having a hard day and you look, maybe it's always at a certain time and the temperature is always changing in your shop. So, when that happens, maybe that's when you have a harder time printing. Where, if you can control that, maybe you start your heat earlier in the day, something like that to avoid that change and make your job easier, it's only going to help you. Or if you always see banding and you notice it's when your humidity is at a certain temperature. If there's something that you can't control the humidity in your shop and you see that it's at that humidity level that you always have trouble with, maybe you try and avoid printing for a few hours or even the next day till, things are back in level in your shop. If you can't control them with, a humidifier or a dehumidifier, just some people don't have control over those things. And instead of fighting with it and wasting a lot of media, maybe you can wait till weather changes tomorrow and you're good to
go. Static can show up in a lot of different ways. You had mentioned in the beginning, it shows up as I've seen overspray, I've seen overprints, I've seen lines that show up mysteriously and prints. What other ways do you narrow it down or troubleshoot static? Would you think?
My opinion, static's one of the harder ways. If you're wondering let's say it's banding, if your nozzle test prints look good, I'd always start there with any kind of color or banding problem. But if your nozzle test print looks good and you're seeing banding, maybe cut the media off, rotate it, see if that banding moves with it, just to rule out the media. The other thing is, record your temperature and your humidity levels. The other thing is to, try another media. These medias, they're in rolls. They expand and contract with the temperatures and move on each other. And they will store the static electricity similar to a battery. Discharging them a little bit or feeding some out may help. If you have to get a 3-foot print and you're worried about it, maybe you could roll more out, try and discharge it, and before you start printing on that portion. For long runs, that may not be possible, but try and ground everything, especially with plotters. Try and discharge the static, maybe touch some metal before you touch the keyboard.
Yeah, those are great ideas to try. The other thing what Emily had mentioned was, a hygrometer. Everybody, you really should have a hygrometer. I really don't think customers typically put as much emphasis on humidity as should be given to it. And you should want to know the humidity in your shop at any given time. It not only helps eliminate static, but it also creates better print quality, better print color. It prolongs the life of the print heads. You know, the probably the biggest issue that static can, we've seen it destroy menu boards, menu panels. They'll just go blank. You walk up to it. You know, try not to keep, that said, try not to keep your printer on carpet. We've seen people walk across the room, walk up, touch a button to turn their printer on. You hear a snap, you discharge electricity, and the next thing you know, it's a $200 repair to replace the button board on your printer or your cutter. Same things go for cutters, although you can't see. But
Inflation, Mike, $200 a little low.
link in the description below for a hygrometer that we recommend, but they're relatively inexpensive. $10 could prolong the life expectancy of your print heads and give you better print quality, better color. It just sits on top of your printer. Usually the one we recommend has a humidity and temperature. They pretty much go hand in hand. Even during the summer, if you turn on the air conditioning, air conditioning works. It's taking the moisture out of the air. So you want to keep it cool in there, but you also want to make sure you're not pulling all the humidity out of the air. And that goes for any, not just printers, any electrical equipment in your office. You really, humidity, all of them can benefit from humidity. So, probably the best way is commercial humidifiers. You can pick up a commercial humidifier that will humidify about 1,000 square feet for a couple $100. They have other commercial ones that mount on a wall. You run a water supply to it, so it's not like you have to fill it with water or, truck gallons of water in from another room and fill it, a couple times a day.
Even grounded anti-static mats where you step up to the machine so that it discharges before you touch the machine could help.
There's a company that we're familiar with called Stop Static. We're going to leave a link in the description below. It's not an affiliate link or anything, but they have some unique, sort of inexpensive ways of eliminating static that you can use with a static strip and some magnets. Yeah, it's like a bungee cord. It's a stretchy material that stretches in between two magnets. Kits are relatively inexpensive, but can ultimately save thousands of dollars. Go ahead and check them out. This video is not sponsored by them. We've used it in the past with good success. So
works great on printers, plotters, laminators. One roll, you can put it on a lot of equipment. Pretty much ground it to, if you're putting them on or any kind of ground, make sure to go into either something metal or chromed metal that'll screw in, and then put it to a good ground. That way it will be grounded, where like powder coatings are insulated, so they won't really help you if you just attach it to a powder coated area, but that'll help ground your machine. Regressing a little bit to the problems with printing and static, probably the hardest times are when it shows up in just a blue or just a certain gray and the rest of your print looks fine, and you're wondering why I'm having issues with those, just one of those colors out of your whole print. We've seen it happen. Sometimes it affects just channel to channel, and it'll only affect one color or possibly two colors in a whole print. And that's why it can make your job harder to nail it down or make you have a harder day.
I think one of the key points is, for a very inexpensive, easily acquired, hygrometer, stop static strip, whatever, you can save yourself a lot of guesswork. And I think static is just one of those things that if you can make it that's not going to be something that you have to chase because your environment, then it's definitely going to make your day better.
Perfect point. Environment. People in different parts of the country are going to have different issues with humidity and static. Some people in really humid areas may not know what we're talking about with static and never see it, but they have different issues of rippling media and things like that because of really high humidity.
You're right. Maybe in the southeast or in the south period, don't necessarily see humidity as not enough humidity. See it as too much humidity, and it shows up in the form of rippling media and head strikes. So the more you can control your environment, the easier it is to rule out whether it's a machine problem, whether it's an environment problem, or whether it's a media problem. And the less time you're spending ruling those out, the more time you're printing, making money.
Less wasting of it.
If you found this video helpful, check out our channel and be sure to like and subscribe.